recording. I forgot to do that 2 weeks ago. Got in halfway, so get it going early. So we have 10 people scheduled to join us, so we'll wait just a few more minutes. I did do a reminder an hour ago on Meetup. Are we in your headset, maybe? I see you putting it on. I like to see my notes. Oh, I wish we could hear you. I'm trying to figure out how to see my notes on my pages. Let's see. Open in picture in picture. Oh, I think I might hear you. Oop, I don't like that. Don't like that. All right, so Rasheem, we just have, oh, we lost her. I think she's going to try and get back in.
Okay.
Trying to see if I can see my notes, and that is not working. I know everyone was excited about this one too, and we had a couple people sign up this morning. Tell me about your new project, Rasheem.
This project is, it was created because of something I ran into with my daughter, and she's in driver's training. And here in Texas, in 19 or 18 other states, I should say, they have what you call parent-led driver's training.
Mm-hmm.
And when you sign up for parent-led driver's training, you pay your $20 to the state, and they send you a packet. And in that packet is a one-page PDF of the requirements after they've gone through the coursework, the driving requirements.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like 30 hours of driving, 10 hours at night. And then there are 10 subcategories of things like parking and roundabouts and highway driving and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all on a piece of paper. And you start thinking about the practicality of that. It's not practical at all, right? So they have to have a permit for 6 months before they can get a license.
Mm-hmm.
So my question in 2025, almost 2026, who's carrying a piece of paper around with them for every possibility when you're about to go for a drive? Let's say we're out for dinner, and I say, hey, Jasmine, you want to drive home and get some hours in? It's like, oh, I got the paper at home. I left the paper. Or you just don't remember where you put this piece of paper, or it's getting raggedy over 6 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're doing all this manual tracking. And so I took those parameters and I created an application. I can show everybody that as well, because
That's cool.
I can show them because the application I used to build it in is one of the things I wanted to talk about today as well. And yeah, so it's a mobile application that parents can sign up, their teen can sign up, and with a household code can tie into that parent's account, and they can log their drives. And once the drive is finished, it'll ask them, okay, what did we work on So let's say you drove for 42 minutes or something.
Mm-hmm.
It will say you have 42 minutes of allocation, and it will list all the subcategories there so that you can go, oh, we spent 30 minutes on the highway. We spent 5 minutes on the city streets. We did, 2 minutes of parking, and we had, 3 minutes of roundabouts or whatever else is on the
Mm-hmm.
list. And it will log all that information for you. And then and it will notify, it will also let you know what you have left remaining. So you're not
Oh,
doing just random driving, right? So it'll show you your current status of all of those different categories. And when you complete it, you can click the export PDF and it will give you it will spit out all of the time frames and all of those categories.
yeah.
And you can
Nice.
also add authorized drivers. So like the state allows you to add other adults who are 21 or over with valid driver's license to drive with your child and rack up that time as well.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a great idea. I did carry the paper around. I had a folder.
Nope, not doing it.
And I would not be watching them, right? I would be logging what we were doing. So that is fantastic. What a great application.
So I plan to,
I'm the weird nut there too, because I always carry a paper and pen in the truck as well.
Yeah.
I hear you. I'm just, I don't know. I'd rather not. The only paper I use, I like writing my notes down. For some reason, everything else in my life is digital, but for notes is something I have to just write it down. And when I write it down, I remember all of it, right?
Yeah, uses different parts of your brain to get it in there.
It does. And I like, it's something about like physically crossing that thing off the list.
Yeah.
But for everyday use of things, let's just use technology and make it digital.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we will go ahead and get started. And Marina, welcome. This is your first time to join us on Succeeding into Succession, How to Run a Business That Runs Without You. So welcome. Are we able to hear you, do you think? Or can you maybe type in the chat, what is the nature of your business?
All right, let's see if this works. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yay! Okay.
Were you on mute?
I was just now, but no, long story short, I got a new docking station for my computer. And so it's been a little wonky with the settings and trying to get it set up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So as far as my business, I don't know. I'd like to explore ideas about finding a second line of business. So I'm in a very niche field, but it's not really anything that can really run itself. So this for me is just kind of looking for something new, an avenue. I'm going to be moving to another state probably by the end of the year. And so I'm looking for some different opportunities and things that I can do to have a business, to run a business and, do all that stuff.
Great. Well, welcome.
Thanks.
Well, this meetup group was started a little over a month ago, and I started it to be able to offer a weekly reoccurring series that offers up the business program I offer, which helps a business scale up and eventually out. So the running a business that runs without you is to not only help people learn how to increase the profitability of their business, but add tools and operations and processes that will allow them to free up their time and delegate those duties. And whether you delegate those duties to the human element with staffing team, virtual or in person, but you can also use automation. Rasheem and I met each other last month at another networking group and found that we're fairly aligned in what we're doing and how we want to help our clients. So I invited him to be a guest speaker. In this portion of it, we had started the series with who's your ideal client? What is the client journey? What is your messaging? And the messaging was also content. We talked about AI. And so then what Rasheem does flows right into that, because as I was learning about AI, I found some pitfalls, some hiccups, and speed bumps. So we shared that with the group. And then I invited Rasheem, and he came last week and did the anatomy of an AI prompt. And then that, of course, leads to how can you add AI as a tool in your business to help it run without you, help you be more efficient, help you do the things that a computer can do more efficiently without you, make your life easier. And as he was just sharing, has a 16-year-old daughter learning to drive. And so what's the best way to make that process easier is to use the technology that we have to better document that process. And as we've discussed, I did it all on paper because my kids are all, into their 20s. And I did use an app a little bit, but I found writing down where we were and taking the time, and I'd have to time it out. It was a lot. And now, even back then with expense reports, you wrote down when you left, you wrote a log, and with company policy, you had to write a log, send it in every month. And depending on your policies, how you got reimbursed, or you reimbursed them or got paid taxes, whatever. So now we have these tracking apps, right, that are using it. And so now I don't have to worry about where I go. It's automatically on, and I just swipe left or right for business or personal. So I think Rasheem's going to share some of his tools here in a little bit about using what we have to make our life easier. So that's who we are, Marina. So this series focuses on the 80-20 rule, which is that 20% of what we do yields 80% of our income, revenue, or purpose. And so we want to focus on doing those 20% items and not get teased by the shiny object. And that is also to focus on the 5 pillars of business, that everything we do, if we focus on those 5 pillars, will generate the most efficiently run business. And then we want to have actionable strategies every week. When you leave here, this is a free workshop. We want you to take away the value of you spending an hour of your time with us. So we want it to be actionable. And so we give you some homework to do to come back with. Maybe no one did their homework last week. I don't know. We usually have 4 or 5 people, and about 10 usually register. But I think Meetup is tough on its reminders. We're going to also transform your mindset from revenue to profit, meaning you want to really work on what's generating your cash flow and what pays your mortgage, and not necessarily on sell, right? Selling is a part of it, but you want to do what's really going to make your money, right? What's going to bring a client and keep a client. So with the beginning of each of our seminars, we always start with some statistics. And this week we focused on automation tools, and about 90% of workers are using automation to increase their productivity. And companies do report that there's an reduction of 22% in their operating costs when they've implemented some AI tool. Marina, do you have a tool that you're using? Maybe you do know it's automation, or maybe you do know it's AI, or maybe you didn't know.
I do use ChatGPT, and sometimes they use Grok.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you use any sort of card scanner that when you meet people, they scan a card, then it automatically grabs yours and you share data instantly? Have you ever used one of those?
I have used it in the past.
That's a little bit of automation, right? Because you're exchanging data, and then it's sending an email. Depending on what tool you have, it automatically sends an email and says, "Hi, I'm Marina. Thanks for getting my card." That's automation in AI.
Right.
I just mentioned the tracking with expenses. I have it tied to my credit card. It sends me a note, "Hey, you just did 2.6 miles, and hey, your card just was billed on this item." Those are some of the things we're doing. I think we don't realize it, but like Rasheem's going to show us here in a minute, there's a lot that we are doing and a lot more we can do.
Mhm.
So
Great.
the 5 pillars are leads. Almost everybody I meet in any of my networking groups says, what do you need? What can I do for you? Or what do you need in your business? Everyone's like, I need more leads. There's a lot of processes, and Rasheem is really good at these, for generating or activating or following up with leads, right? The lead itself has to be followed up with, and there's a lot of tactics to do with that. Converting that lead into a customer can be done with automation. Your transactions in automation, I mean, we use DoorDash and Amazon every day. Those are a lot of transactions done with AI, sending you reminders, telling you where your food is. What did you buy last time? And of course, pricing can can be automated. We've experienced that with hotels and airplanes. Every time you go in and check a flight, next thing you know, it went up $10 and it goes up $10. That's all automation, AI in the background using economics and market demand to increase pricing on the things you're searching for, and you're actually using your stat to increase the price. Like, you didn't buy it, Marina, if you didn't buy now, you're gonna pay $10 more. I always hate that. But when you think about it, this has been going on in the background for a long time. And
I've noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually thought, because looking at airline tickets, and I've got a lot of travel and stuff, but I've looked at that. So I'll look at something and I won't necessarily book it. And then the next time I go back and look at it, it's like the prices skyrocket. I think there's something they're doing.
There is. And there's a couple guys on TikTok that'll tell you why, and they'll tell you where you should be searching on Google Flights with an anonymous browser, or go through it. There's someone else who says use a VPN that's routed through another country, because they don't do that to foreign countries. They only do it in the US. So again, we definitely are becoming more aware of the automation that's in our world running us. We need to use it in the business to our benefit, and focusing, of course, on profit, because we want to make money, right? We're not in this as a charitable event. So today we're going to have, we're going to discover various AI automation tools from Rasheem, and I'm going to lead that over to him.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me again. And Brent, I think Brent was here last week, correct?
Yes.
That's correct. Yes.
Yes. And forgive me, but you are in the trucking industry, is that correct?
Water industry.
Water industry. Sorry about that. Sorry.
I'm sorry I'm not on camera. I'm in the middle of eating my lunch and multitasking.
That's okay. And then Marina, you talked about jumping into a new business. You didn't mention what your current business was, and you said that it was super niche, so you didn't think there was a lot of automation there. I'm curious, because that to me was just like an instant challenge. So I was like, what is she doing that I can't automate?
Sure. Well, I am a real estate broker,
Okay.
but not in the traditional sense. So I have a lot of years of experience in the senior care and living industry, in the sales and marketing side of that. And so really what I do is I help people buy and sell board and care homes. So they're residential homes that can house usually up to 6 elderly. There's a licensing process, and sometimes they have to do retrofits. So that's really what I do. My business is it's more face-to-face. There's a certain part that gets automated, but a lot of it really in this business is face-to-face, where I'm dealing with small business owners, and they want to see you. So, but as far as the lead automation, I do have a section of the business, and I do have leads that come in for luxury or high-end properties, and those are all automated. I have a concierge team. They bring in all of the leads, they qualify them, and when those leads are ready for an appointment or to be talked to or to go through that process, then they come to me. And that's been super helpful, because it does free up a lot of the time for me. But yeah, my current business is more face-to-face. And so I'm looking at, how can I do something else that maybe can be more automated?
Okay. So that's good information to know. And we can probably talk about more of that later. I just want to get an understanding of what you were doing. And keep in mind, so you had mentioned leads, and Katherine, you had mentioned leads as well as an automated item. And I think that most people do look at leads as the thing they want to automate and the follow-up of those leads. But I think there's so much more behind that. Is like, even once you get the lead, is how can I take the thing that I do every time and automate even that process, even down to the paperwork that gets done, right? So those are some of the things that you could probably jump into. Now, I see Dharma just joined. Thanks for joining. There are so many things you can automate in your business. So I want to get too deep and jump over people's heads real quick. as we're walking through this, but I do want to talk about some of the platforms that are out there that allow people to automate, and they are no/low code applications. So you don't have to be a tech person. This is not, tech 101. This is your ability to think out very clearly your process of how you do things, and then put them in order so that the tool can actually do the work for you. And so with that being said, it is very important. I mentioned this before, and I'm sure Katherine will confirm this. Before you do any automation, I am a firm believer of getting your processes together first, because if you automate it and you add AI to it, all you're going to do is exacerbate whatever crap you have in there. And right? And I mean that in the nicest way, right? Because we all have some crap in there that we could refine and make more efficient and effective, right? So it's very key to get your processes in order and then utilize automation tools to automate that thing you're doing. So how many of you have heard of Zapier? Okay, so that's a long time staple. Some people call it Zapier, however you want to pronounce it. But they were one of the earlier adopters of automation itself, not necessarily with AI, but just automation, being able to pull information from one platform and connect it to other platforms so that your data can pass through easily. And then we get into other applications like, how many have heard of make.com? Anybody? No? Okay. So make.com is, let me share this here. Let's share my screen. All right, so this is the back end of a demo account that I use to show different automations, right? So make.com is an automation tool that has recently added more AI functions into it. And it's fairly simple, right? So these, what they call their workflows, are called scenarios. And you can literally go and create a scenario. And again, if you have your process in order, this part is fairly easy. We're going to connect whatever it is that we want connected to something else, right? So I'm gonna go back so this is a blank page, right? And we can add anything from Google Sheets to Gmail to, I don't know, we want, what are some other things you might connect? You might connect your, I don't know, like your HubSpot CRM to it. You might want to connect your form from like Jot Forms or something of that nature, and then do something with that information. What I like about Make versus Zapier, depending on how you learn and how you absorb information, it is very linear in its, I guess, progression of data moving through. So you can kind of watch it and see that. Make is very similar in that nature, but it does allow for a more visual interface where you can have items like, let me show you this here, like routers in here that split off into two different things, versus Zapier was very, very linear. Like you go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to step 4. Make allows you to start expanding some of those things. And so I'll go back and take a look at some scenarios here. Discard these changes. Here's a very simple automation that is used. On my website, there is a voice AI agent that I built that allows people to call me. And when they call me, they can ask questions about whatever it is about me and my business. And then they may want to either schedule an appointment or leave a message or what have you. This webhook basically grabs that information from the voice AI solution that I use. I showed that last week. It takes that information and it takes their information, whether it be their name, email, phone number, whatever they've given me, and drop it in Google Sheets so that I can store it in some other CRM in some other scenario. And then it allows me to also send out an email notification to my team to get back to whomever just reached out to us. So this is an example of a very, very simple automation. And again, this part is like lead building. So kind of down the road where you all were talking before, right? But very, very simple. And these can get uber complex. However complex you need to get them, you can do that. Now, with that said, I do like to use a different platform because I do like to use the brains of AI to be able to step up my automations and do some of the thinking for me, right? And so with that, I use a platform called N8N. How many have heard of that platform? Yes, Marina? No? So N8N is another no-code / low-code. You can actually code in N8N. So N8N to me is much more powerful than Make, because if you know how to code, you can actually use this as well and code some of your applications within it. Many developers might use N8N for the back end and then use something like Lovable or Bolt or write their own code to put a front end on that. And what I mean by front end, the user interface that the everyday user would interact with the application. So this is an example of an agent that I created for myself. This agent, I call it my ultimate assistant because it does just that. I put a name to her. Her name is Ava, and she does everything. So I use, just real briefly to walk through this so you can see the potential, because I like to spur some ideas in your brain how you can utilize automations for various things. Automation, let's see, how you may want to change screen. Oh, sorry, I forgot about that. Yes, there you go. This automation here, I use, just for this example, I'm using Telegram. It's an application on it's a mobile application. It allows you to communicate with various people and groups and things like that. But I don't use it for that. They actually have a great function for communicating via API to other applications. So I use their Telegram trigger. So on my phone, I can either talk to it or text to it, and that becomes the input to my assistant. So for example, I could send a text from my phone through Telegram and say, hey, I need you to go check my calendar and let me know, like I'm driving or something, so I could talk to it. Check my calendar and let me know the next 2 meetings I have before 1 o'clock. And then he can go and do whatever it needs to do and come back and spit that information back out into my phone. I can have it do multiple other things. So as you see down here, I have an input. I also have an output. So input comes in from my phone and it spits it back to my phone. In the middle, I have my ultimate assistant. This is my agent. And with that, I've given them 3 distinct things. I give it a brain. So I'm using OpenAI, which is like ChatGPT behind the scenes, right? So when you go to ChatGPT, you're using OpenAI model, but you're using the retail front end of that model, right? So this uses the back end via an API. I also gave it some memory so that it has some context to our conversations. So if I reach out to it and say, I need you to do X, Y, Z, it has some memory of our previous conversations, so I don't have to fully give it like a super prompt every single time I want to talk to it and get some response back. Then I have tools created. So all of these tools help me do basic admin things in my company without having an admin. So I have email agents. And I'll show you them as well. So I have my personal email agent connected here, business email agent. I have a calendar agent, a contact agent, content creator. Tably is a search engine, kind of like Google. And then I have a calculator function here. So you may be asking, how would I use these tools? So again, let's say I'm out and about, driving in my car, and I know that I'm going to be, late for the meeting, or I need to do whatever. I can say, hey, Ava, I need you to reach out to Katherine and let her know that I cannot make today's meeting. Send her a calendar invite to see if she's available Friday at 10. It will then go to my contact agent and find Katherine's information. Because I told her to send an email, it will go and grab her email. And then it will come over here to the email agent and draft an email and send it to her with the help of the calendar agent, because I asked it to see if she's available Friday at 10. So it has all of these tools available to it to go and do the work that I asked. And then it will send me a response and let me know I sent the email that you asked for to Katherine. So each one of these has its own agent in it as well. So I'm going to show that here. I'm just going to do that. So in my Ultimate Assistant, for instance, if I look at my email agent looks like this. So imagine you have a full staff, right? So you see this input here is from the previous workflow. That previous workflow is the manager of all agents. And so now I have my email agent, and this email agent has a brain as well. And it has the ability to send email, reply to email, label emails, create drafts, get emails, get labels, or mark emails unread. So these are the tools that's available to this agent, right? So this agent is specialized to just email. Then I have the agent that's specialized to just calendars and things of that nature. And it allows the main agent to be able to use each one of those individual agents as a tool to be able to accomplish the tasks that I wanted to do. Katherine, you have your hand up.
I think this is a great time to maybe even show the participants like how many layers you have. Because what I think I just understood is you have the overview that you showed us, and then with each tool has its own page that I'm seeing here. And that's where you define all that miraculous business. It wasn't like ChatGPT just knew to go into a contact and make an email. You've actually given it instructions on these other workflows on how to do that. So you have your overview, and then you have a layer of each tool, and each tool has to have its own page. And if you have complex actions, it's going to have its additional page. So building the automation is about, like you said, you have to know where you are and where you're going, and you might need to make a couple turns to get there. And each page of instructions that you've pre-written are what you're showing. You have different levels of information. Can you go into that a little more?
Yes. So I'm trying to, let's see. I don't want to do that. Let's see. There we go.
Coding's a little scary for all of us, but but I can see your pages on your directory, and then when you opened it, it was like, oh, and it says from previous.
Yes.
So I think that kind of brings up the level. I hate to say complexity, because I think automation is complex. If it wasn't, everyone would be doing it.
Yes, but I think everybody can.
It.
That's the thing. Everybody
a lot
can.
of faith.
Yes. So to your point, so I just opened up the email agent, right? This literally is the prompt inside of the email agent, right? So I tell it, you are an email management assistant. All emails must be formatted professionally in HTML and signed off as Rasheem. So at the end of the email, make sure it puts my name down there, right? Management tools. Use these tools. So those tools that you saw that were attached to the bottom of the agent, use the send email tool, create draft, get emails, get labels, mark unread, right? And I tell it you must use the get emails first so that you have a message ID of the email to flag. And some of this information that's here that I tell it what it must have, N8N will do it for you. Okay. They have AI integrated inside of their builder so that you can build these things faster. The other thing you can do, if you have a ChatGPT account or Claude account or something of that nature, You can describe, so this is where last week was very important. We talked about the type of prompts you want to create, right? Giving it a role, giving it some context, telling it a task, and then giving the specifics and some examples. You can go to ChatGPT or Claude and tell it, I need to create me an agent that can do X, Y, and Z. Here's what I do, and here's what I need you to do, and here's some examples of what I want to happen. And I need to create this in N8N. And you can literally tell it, give me the JSON that I need to import to N8N, and it will recreate your agent for you. So you don't have to start from an empty canvas and try to create something that you're not familiar with. You can use your other AI tools to create that for you. And in fact, let's see if I can pull this up. I'm trying to pull this up from their site. N8N just I want to say recently, within the last month and a half, have added that same functionality. I'm looking for it on their site, where you can communicate with natural language to N8N, and it will create your automation for you as well. So this is why I say you don't have to be a tech genius to do this. You just have to have the ability to communicate with clarity and detail what it is you want to accomplish. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
Now, to muddy the water a little bit, today, literally in 23 minutes, OpenAI is having their dev day. And it's rumored that they will be releasing an agent builder, very similar to what we're seeing on the screen right now, within their ecosystem. And so now you would not need to necessarily leave OpenAI, depending on how, robust it is. You may or may not need to leave OpenAI to create the agents that you're looking for. It can be very valuable. And by the way, kind of sidestep a little bit. So we talked about automations for your business and what platforms you can use. The other things you might want to look at is how can you market your business utilizing these platforms, because they themselves will do the work for you, even through the chat window. And there are a plethora of platforms out there that will help you. So for example, we're talking about OpenAI. This last week, they also released Sora 2. Sora 2, you can access it via the web, but most of the functions are on iOS first. They will be releasing the Android version soon. But what they've done is they've allowed you to take some images of your face. You know how you do the facial recognition on your phone? So they'll ask you to turn to the side, things of that nature. When they get your face, they can then put you in any scene you want to create. So whatever you can imagine, you can create yourself and create videos with those things. Now, you don't have to use yourself either. You can use just text, your natural language, to communicate what it is you're trying to communicate. And with that, I'm going to show you an example of something I created with Sora for another application. As soon as it
I use Kling and then Higgsfield. I like Kling the best as far as people creating. It's the most economical for creating. And I found it didn't require me to make an avatar first. Like, I could just take a picture and turn it into a moving object and then go put it back in as the object and then make it speak. So Marina, have you ever used AI or done anything like that? Or would you be interested in that?
Definitely would be interested. Haven't really used anything like that in depth. So yeah, very interesting.
Raj, what about you? Have you tried it?
No. No response. Okay.
So just to clarify, like when you're talking about that, so maybe taking, I don't know, a picture.
I'm going to show
And
you a good example right now. Here's the
okay.
perfect one. I'm going to do it right now. Hold on one second. Okay. I just took a picture of myself and I'm going to drop it into Gemini. Have you used Gemini before?
You're still on N8N.
Okay. All right. Here's my new
There we
picture.
go.
All right. So Gemini, made by Google, is multifaceted, very similar to ChatGPT. You can have chats and communicate back and forth, but they also have image generation and video generation. Their image generation is called Nano Banana. That's their latest version of it, Nano Banana. Very powerful. This is what I use in here, and you can see how simple this prompt is, right? No detail at all. Just say, put me in a red shirt and put me in an office background. So this image right here is literally me right now in this gray shirt and my office wall. And I literally just said, put me in a red shirt and put me in an office background. And you can see how fast that responded. It was what, 10, 15 seconds or so, right? So now I'm in a red shirt and I got an office background. I can do, when you see these things, your imagination can go wild, right? You're like, hey, I need to be in, outside in the grass or whatever you want to do, right? You can do that. Or you can literally just start from dropping some text in here to create an image. The other thing with this is you can take this image, whatever image, and then put it into other video platforms. Like Katherine talked about Kling, that's one. Google has Veo 3. You can put it in Hydra, I think it's called HEDRA, to actually animate this. HeyGen, right? So I have an HeyGen avatar that allows me to take images and create videos from them with a script. So when you think about that, remember we talked about lead generation is just one small portion of it. But what happens when you want to get information out, do other things, and one, it's just you. You only have so much time in the day. Or two, you don't like being on the camera, right? Whatever the situation is, you can create whatever it is you need to create with AI and automate that. So you could even utilize, for example, I was showing you N8N as an automation platform. You can actually create a form in N8N that allows you to upload any pic. You can, say, I'm going to upload a picture and I'm going to give you a minor prompt and have it utilized via the API, go to Nano Banana and manipulate whatever imagery you want based on that prompt, and then automatically send it out to your social media channels for you, right? So there's so many other ways you can use it outside of just lead generation, but pretty much anything you want to do within your business that you have some vision for, write the process down, make it plain, and then automate it, utilizing some of these very simple tools, right? And most of them are very low cost. N8N is $24 a month. They also have a self-hosted version. So if you have your own hosting, you can host it for free on your self-hosted server. Yes, on your self-hosted server, and run it for free. You can use for other business automation pieces, you can use Airtable. Are you all familiar with Airtable? No. Okay. So Airtable, let's go find that. So this is Airtable. So think of when it first started, it was like a database, but now they've added AI into the mix. So now you can actually build miniature applications as well. So you're not just looking at multiple tables of data. For some people, that's great. They like playing in Excel and playing in those spaces, but everybody doesn't operate well in those type of spaces. Sometimes you just need the data that you want in the form that you need it. So you can use Airtable using your natural language to describe what it is you're looking for, and they have the database tables behind the scenes to be able to store all of that information that you might encounter and use in your business. This allows you to create a nice front end for interacting with that data. Now, speaking of that, there are some other platforms that I think, depending on what you're trying to accomplish, may be better to create front-end solutions, some of them being Lovable, Bolt, Replit. You can create applications in Base 44. Rourke, if you want to create mobile applications like iOS and Android applications, right? Yeah, these are, and I'll show you here. We will, I'm going to show you this here. So when we started this meeting, we were talking about the application that I've built. I'm going to share this screen here. The application that I was building for FiberLog, right? And oh, by the way, Catherine, I plan to sell it. I'm going to, as soon as I finish, probably by the end of the day, I'm driving physically to every driving company that's right here and try to get them to use it or get their parents and teens to use the platform. And that is the benefit. That is one major benefit of utilizing AI and a lot of these tools, is that if you have a problem in your business, you're not alone. It's like anything else in life, right? If you have a problem, you're not alone. That's why they have like therapists, right? You have anxiety problems or whatever. You're not alone. There's other people that have those issues. That's why there's a therapist there that can help people, right? So no different than that. If you have a problem in your business, you're not the only person that's going through that, right? So if you can think of solutions, or use ChatGPT or Claude and put in your problems and say, hey, give me 3 or 4 different solutions to this problem, and let it spit back some information, and then it'll start to really spur your brain cells to come up with new and fresh ideas. Take those ideas, and as long as you can articulate them, you can put them in a platform like Lovable that will allow you to create those ideas. So I'm going to go to my dashboard and show you, like, I don't just talk about this stuff. I build these things, right? I actually do this, and then I sell them. So Marina, this is a revenue generation piece, right? There's so many people out here that have ideas that don't have the time to create it, don't want to create it, don't want to learn how to create it, but they know they need it, whatever, right? So there's a market out there for creating solutions for people. And as long as you aren't afraid to try to communicate to it, you can create these applications, right? But applications are very easy. This is one I created for someone that was in a demo. I can pull this one up as well. This was a demo application that I literally created in 30 seconds, right? This was the prompt. This is how basic the prompt is. And again, I want to emphasize the fact that the more detailed your prompt is, the better solutions you can create out of these things, right? But for example, I just said, hey, I want to create an Angie's List style platform for event planning. Users can come and see vendors they need for specific events, i.e., I want to plan a wedding and I need a DJ, a flower lady, decor specialist, etc. And then it went and broke down some different ideas and the vision of, since I didn't put it, since I did not give it as much context, it kind of broke down some ideas for me, right? Here's some first version features, right? And here's what we're going to do. And this is what it created. This is what it created for me, right? in just a few minutes. Find a trusted event vendor near you, right? We can plan any event. We got weddings, birthday parties, corporate events, graduations, baby showers. You can browse by service. You have featured vendors. Can you imagine, like, there's so many things that even just creating this demo, I'm like, oh, here's another idea for XYZ, right? And as long as you can find a market for it and that market feels like you can bring it value, you can sell it as a subscription service or whatever it is. Marina, I see your hand raised.
This is great. So the question I have is on this, right? Building this, does it pull in the information like the vendors, or do you have to give it the vendor information?
Yeah, so when you create this up front, this is dummy data in here, right? So it can fill out and you can see what it's going to look like visually. Yeah, you would need to give it the vendors, but so for this example, that would be one of the things I wanted to create, or this particular person I was doing this demo for wanted to create just the infrastructure, because they were going to go sell it to vendors to say, hey, you want to get on my, what did we call this? Event vendors platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
And say, hey, it's going to cost you, that she might, I don't know how many plans she wanted to create, 10, 20, or 2 or 3 different plans, right? And one of them might be, list your business for free. And then the next plan might be, $29 a month to show up, in the featured section or something of that nature, right? So she can create revenue by enticing vendors to sign up on the platform, right? And then make money on the other side, right? So as a consumer that's trying to plan an event, it might be free for certain things, but for certain items, you might want to charge for it.
This
right?
is like a place for mom, right? You could create, Marina, with what you're doing. Think about a place for mom, or there's another caregiving site. You could, based on what you said you did, you could probably come up with joint ventures. So in what I do in consulting is help people grow their business by building joint ventures. And joint ventures are, you think about the vertical of your client and who else would they work with. And the events is a very good example. When someone gets married, then you have all these different, the florist and the photographer and the venue and the caterer and all that. So when you're dealing in people who are going to independent or assisted living, and you have all that to go around, you have lawyers, you have realtors, you have all that, you could do this type of item that links into the business you currently have, which really is promoting your joint ventures. And you could say, these are my trusted vendors. And yes, they're going to pay a fee and they're going to belong. It's a subscription service, but it's advertising and it puts them out there in another place online. Or here's the catch that Rasheem's probably going to have to come back again when we talk about visibility. Google is one thing, and we've all, as business owners in our age group, right, we remember Google and paying ads and interlinks. Now you have to come up in Chat GPT searches. And so how do you do that? How do you SEO optimize for AI? That's a different strategy. And using AI tools likely is going to facilitate that, because it's already in that sphere, that platform. But I would suspect what Rasheem's showing you, he did on purpose, that this would be really good for you, right? Something that what you're talking about, your next step in your business. And if it is intimidating, he is a consultant and does this for a living. And so he could probably help you.
Okay. It is intimidating. And I consider myself to be pretty tech savvy. And I'm like, whoa, but it's good. So I'm glad I'm here. But it's interesting because when you were talking, I have this idea that has come back up. So I was working with an app developer to put an app out there. And that's what we were looking at. And we kind of went through a lot of the process and then decided that there wasn't enough return to justify the investment that I was going to have to make this app happen. And so I kind of pulled off, and, my app developer keeps calling and going, hey, you ready to do this? And I'm like, no, it's not there. So when you were doing this little demo, it comes back up going, hey, could I do this?
Yeah.
And maybe, on my own, if I can figure it out.
So let me ask you real quick, and not to get too deep in your business, and I'm asking you because I'm trying to prove a point here. What was the time frame your app developer was giving you for developing that app, and how much were they going to charge you?
I think from start to finish, given tweaks and all of that, they were willing to work pretty fast, but it was going to be a couple of months, few months. Yeah, I mean, it was start to finish, probably longer, about 6 months. But a lot of that first 3 months was in the basic idea and then bringing it to me and kind of like, no, let's tweak this, do this. And then once they got the final product, then they needed about, I think it was 60 to 90 days to put it all together, is what we were looking at. So, yeah.
So here's the benefit of utilizing AI in your development, right? And you even jumping in yourself or, calling me, I can help you, like Katherine said, is that, I'm going to use this as an analogy, right? You remember in the past, if you had a camera, like a camera, like camera, right? Before it was digital, you would have actual film.
Yep.
And you were careful at what you shot with that actual film because you only got 24, 27, or 30 exposures, right? And you had to go take it to a Walgreens, a CVS, someplace to produce that. That cost money too. So you had to pay for the film and you had to pay for the output. And so you were very careful, make sure the lighting was right, the framing was right. You weren't just clicking anything because you didn't want to waste the money it cost to produce the images. That is like what it was like before utilizing AI to build these applications. Yes, it would take 6 months is probably low if they're not if they weren't using AI and they were actually developing writing all the code themselves. And like I have friends that were in the software business and they would say, generally it really takes 12 to 18 months to develop something, and they would charge $100,000 to $150,000 to develop these applications. But things like this, you can develop literally applications overnight, within a week. And now you become more like the digital camera where I can literally just point and just click. And if I don't like the picture, guess what I'm going to do? Hit the delete button. Right? I just hit the delete button. It cost me, to some extent, there's a cost technically, right? But it cost me nothing compared to what it used to be like when I actually had to produce that film somewhere. Right. And so I wanted to give you that example to really push people to get out of the subconscious fear of, like you said, hey, I'm a technical person, but this still was a little complicated for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this and it's going to come out harsh because I don't have any better words for you. I don't care. Get in there and type your thoughts. Right. You saw what I put here. Right. I want to create an Angie's List style platform for event planning. Right. Just throw something out there. Let it come. And what it will do is it will spur your imagination. And as it goes further, you'll start to understand how much information you need to give to get out what you're looking for, which is what I talked about last week, was make sure you're giving the context and specifics and things like that to help you produce what you're doing. So I see your hand raised too, Katherine. I was going to give an example of something really quick, or do you
I was going to just chime in on the app. The app developers, especially more traditional, they're charging and building based on, let's say, a manufacturer, right? If a manufacturer wants to offer an app to be able to search for their products or scan a QR code so you can get a serial number and the features of a piece of equipment, that app is having to reach out to their server and grab data and pull it back. And there's a lot of memory and a lot of actions going back and forth. And that's very expensive and complex. But if you were looking to do something like this, where it's actually just pointing to existing data on the web, you're not having to store that data in the app. It doesn't need that much memory. You're just grabbing, you're being a venue or a tool to grab data that's already existing that's hosted somewhere else. So just to be a little, not sure what your app developer was doing and what you guys were proposing, but just thinking about the cost. If you were hosting that on a server and you were holding the data on a server, that would be very expensive and complex. But if you're doing something like Rasheem just showed you, if that app's not storing data, it's grabbing existing data. And so it's much more economical. And please, I'm going to put myself on mute. You can correct me on the more finite deals of what it is. But, you know, I've worked with manufacturer apps where you're looking at serial number data and equipment data and troubleshooting and things like that. And it's much more expensive to develop that. Whereas this is using what's there and finding it. So.
Great.
So I want to show you a couple examples of things that I created in just a handful of days. Right. Here, I gotta share my screen again. This is one of the first applications I created. It took me 14 days to create this application. This was also generated just from something that happened at home. I got a picky eater at home, and he likes to negotiate. Say, hey, you want those gummy bears? You got to eat some, you know, you got to eat some chicken nuggets. You got to eat some. You got to eat something. But he only eats 6 things, right? And he's very competitive. And so I created an application that allows him to gain points by eating certain foods that we create for him, and then he can return those points for rewards that he likes. And we use this system to track all of those rewards, right? And then I actually sell it to other people, right? Because I realized, I got on Facebook and saw that there are multiple groups with hundreds of thousands of parents that have picky eaters. Why not make money from that, right? Here's another application. This took me 4 days to build. It's called Grotto. It's a cashless tipping app for service workers who don't have a line item on the receipt for them, right? If you go to the restaurant, there's a line item for the waiter or waitress to tip them. There's not one for the valet person that's at the hotel. There's not one for the bellhop. There's not one for the cleaning crew. There's not one for your masseuse or whatever it is, that the shuttle person at the airport when you parked, you know, a mile away from the airport and you took the free shuttle to get to the airport because parking was cheaper. They have a tip box. What happens when you don't have cash because it's 2025? Right? So imagine having a NFC card or a QR code that can tap or scan, automatically tip them. This became a solution to my own problem. I haven't carried cash in 10 years. But I'm a fan of giving people value for the value they bring to me. So I created this application. Again, I'm showing you this to say, like, doesn't take much. Don't let your fear hold you back from the possibilities that's in front of you. Because the risk is minimal. If you don't like what comes out, hit the delete button. Like, there's no harm. That's the point.
It's $20, you know, if it's a 7-day or 14-day trial, and then $20 a month. You don't have to buy the 1 year thinking, well, I'm saving 50%. But if you're not going to use it, it's better to start for the month for the $20 or $29. And then if you use it, great, upgrade. But if you don't use it, or you only want to use it for one thing, you're only out $20 or $29.
Yes.
A lot of those $20 do add up, though.
Well, level was 20. I think it's $25, but
yeah.
But I have a much higher. I mean, I'm in here all day creating applications for various people. So
yeah. So Marina, did you have a good time today? Learn something new?
Oh my gosh, this is great. I'm so glad I found you guys. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we're here every Monday. Rasheem's been our guest speaker. I'm hoping he attends as a participant. I'm going to get back on track next week with the next content that'll probably build on this. And I was going to have Rasheem, do you want to pop up your contact info? And then I'll pop up mine. And Marina, if you want to put in the chat your contact info, make sure we can all stay connected.
Yeah.
And Raj, you've been quiet. Were you able to gain some new information, new knowledge today that was of value? Okay. Okay. Well, I appreciate those who attended and participated. Thank you so much. Marina, it was great to meet you. Let me see if I can put up my share screen. I might have a QR code to stick up there. Oh. Not sure if that's showing up. So
I don't see anything.
no, not yet. Okay, let's see. Share screen. Window. There we go. So in the description of this meetup
There
group,
it
I
is.
promised a weekly series that builds on itself, giving tips and tricks on how to have a business that can run without you. And in it, you get an ebook that does have the basic strategies that we will be covering each week. And of course, we have Rasheem, who's added tremendously to our content by really demystifying AI and automation and giving us the courage to do it. And then we have the ability, I have a 15-minute calendar if you want to go one-to-one. As with good networking, we want to follow up with each other and get to know each other better so we can find out how we can support each other. So I encourage everyone on this call to connect with each other after this meeting. And then hopefully everyone will be here next week. All right. Well, thank
See you
you.
Monday.
Yeah, thank you, Rasheem. I appreciate it so much, you being here again. Your wisdom and your encouragement. Thank you so much for encouraging us to step out of our comfort zone, because we really do all need that. And you make it look so easy, but you have a job for a reason.
Yes, yes. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.